Hey guys, I want to talk about the new Petco redesign and why it was a bad idea, or at least a bad execution. So here's the redesign, and let's just look at a couple of features of the redesign. And the most obvious one is they took away the icon of this dog and this cat cuddling. And they changed a type a little bit. They removed some of these tail-like features on the E and the C. They retained it on the P and cut into it with that on the T, which they did not have before. And then they removed a color and just retained or changed it to this kind of dark navy blue color. Now, in order to analyze this, we have to understand why they're doing it. And they said they were doing it for two major reasons. One is that they're moving to more of a health and wellness of your animal and not just like a warehouse animal supplies place. And the second reason is that they're not going to sell shock collars anymore because they viewed that as unkind. So those are the two reasons: moving to health and wellness and no more of these negative shock collar things. So if that's the goal, then let's see if this visually achieves those two goals. And I think clearly it does not. Now, this may seem, I think in a lot of people's minds, this cat and dog seem kind of cartoonish and childish, and that may be, but I think by losing this, how does losing two cute, cuddly animals communicate more of health and wellness to animals? This is more sterile. It's less human, right? There's less of a human touch here because you can see faces and animals and they have some sort of interaction. So it's clearly lost there. You lost some of these tail features, which again communicates that like warmth and humanity. And you moved over to a sort of like very popular, bland minimalism. Now, whether minimalism has been popular for a long time, maybe since Apple, probably before, but they really popularized it. And whenever you're thinking about the level of complexity in your identity on a scale from complex to simple, there's not one that's better than another. You just need to think about the purpose of your brand. So when Apple came in and they had their logo, their Apple logo that was very simple, that communicated something profound about their brand because they were trying to separate themselves from PCs, which were very complicated. Their UI was complicated, how to use it was complicated, and they were everything the opposite of that. So for instance, for PCs, you can see all the system files, and there is thousands of them. But Macs, they prefixed all their system files with a period, and by default, those are all hidden. So it's not that they just, hey, let's just kind of reduce the clutter. They're like, no, we're going to start from a different standpoint, and we're only going to include the things that are going to be helpful for the vast majority of our users. And so when they came in, they say, hey, we want to communicate that same simplicity visually, and they did that by having a very simple logo as well as their whole branding and design. Now, people saw that and they liked it, and so they copied it in many times, but many times inappropriately, because if that's not a large feature of your brand, which for many, probably most companies, it's not, then you don't want to do that visually. It's become a fad in a bad way, and they're jumping on that boat. And when you jump on that boat, you don't end up separating yourself and clearly communicating who you are, but you end up looking like everyone else, which is what Petco has done. Now, the second thing when evaluating a logo you want to think about is not just what do these features do, and what do these features do in contrast to our old visual system, but also what is lost. And especially if you've got a company that's been around in the market for a very long time, they've built up a big structure. And a lot of times people today will overvalue novelty, and they will undervalue character and consistency. So this is one thing about the great designer John McWade would say, is that, a lot of people think that you need to dump your whole brand into your logo, and it needs to communicate everything. No, a logo primarily serves to identify. So like if you're on a vacation and you want some coffee, you're just looking for that green mermaidish thing, right? But you're not thinking, what is a mermaid? Why does she look like she does? What is this? What is that? Now, of course, it's nice to have those features, but it primarily serves to identify, right? And this is very identifiable, and people have developed a relationship with this over years and years and years with this kind of cute little identity. Now, there's nothing wrong with updating a logo, because very often, and sometimes we don't even know it, we design things in ways that are very tied into a visual pattern of the time, a line weight style, a level of detail, whatever it is. And so it's totally good to update, say, these characters to a more updated form, but throwing them away, especially for their two purposes, works at odds with what they're trying to accomplish. All right, thanks so much, guys. If you have any thoughts on this, I'd love to hear them, and I'll talk to you later.